Hi folks, welcome to day 5. Today we're going to be learning how to solve by factoring. So you've already done the hard part. I'm going to let you know that now. Factoring in and of itself is difficult because it's intuitive in nature. That's why I try and teach you set patterns, right? Like that's why I teach you formulas. That's why I teach you factoring by grouping, is because that way you can identify the patterns. That's the hardest part about factoring. Now, solving by factoring is just one additional step. The only difference between factoring and solving by factoring is that after you factor, you're going to set each factor equal to 0 to solve for x. And we'll walk through an example. It'll be super easy. All right. But yeah, so that's the only difference between factoring and solving by factoring. Now, I do want to provide just a little bit of context for what it means to solve an equation, right? So remember, these are functions. These are polynomials. So if we have something like this is a form of x to the 4th. So this is a polynomial that you might have to solve by factoring, right? Now, solving by factoring just means where does x equal 0, or where does your function cross the x-axis? Now, part of the reason why I wanted to show you this visually, even though we're not going to do a ton of graphing in my class, is that I wanted you to see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 places in this function that our graph crosses the x-axis. And that aligns with our degree. So your degree is always your max number of roots, your maximum amount of roots. So an x to the 4th polynomial can never have 5 roots. It can have 4. It can also have 0. So I'm going to show you an example where it might have 0. So this has now been transformed. Maybe so now it has some plus k value, right? It's been shifted up. So you can see in this case, exact same function, but you don't have any zeros because it doesn't cross that x-axis. So I just wanted to give some context for what it actually means when we're saying that we're solving by factoring. But now let's get through how to actually do that. So I'm going to use a factoring by grouping example, but you can use anything that is factorable you can do this with. I just wanted to pick a harder one because I'd rather go through a hard one with you, so that way when you're trying it out on your own, it makes more sense. So we have 3x to the 4th plus 12x cubed minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Now that equals 0 part, this is the new stuff, right? We haven't had that before, so this is all new, is that equal to 0 part. So just like any other factor by grouping example, we're going to start by making sure that it's in standard form. And then after it's in standard form, you're going to create your groups. So my first group is going to be my 3x to the 4th plus 12x cubed. And my second group, I'll have a negative sign out front. So now my negative 2 gets turned into a plus 2. And this negative 8 now gets turned into a plus 8. And that's because, remember what I said during the factor by grouping video, that negative sign changes all of the signs of everything inside. All right? So that's where those sign changes come from. All right. Now, after we've picked our groups, we're now going to factor by grouping, factoring out that greatest common factor in each term, in each group set. Now remember, greatest common factor is almost always leading coefficient, smallest power of x. Leading coefficient, smallest power of x. Now you can see over here, I circled nothing because, well, I mean, technically there's part of a parentheses, but I circled nothing because there is no smallest power of x, meaning I'm just going to factor out that 2. So on the left half, I'm going to factor out a 3x cubed. And in my right half, I'm going to just factor out a 2. So factoring out a 3x cubed, 3 divided by 3, because remember this is there's an implied 3x cubed here, like a division of it, because you're factoring it out. So we have 3 divided by 3 gets us 1, x to the 4th divided by x cubed gets us just an x. Then we have 12x cubed divided by 3x cubed. 12 divided by 3 gets us 4. X cubed divided by x cubed is just 1. If it helps you to write in this negative or this division of 3x cubed, you're welcome to do that, but I'm not going to do that for the remainder of this problem. All right, then we get into our right half. So on the right half, we factor out 2. So 2x divided by 2 is just x. Then we have 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 gets us 4. And now remember, this is still equal to 0. Some of you might be like, but wait, you factored out a negative 2. Remember, we already took care of that negative sign when we put this negative in between them. All right? Okay, next step. I'm going to write my factors together. So I have my x plus 4, right, because that's in both of my terms. Then I have 3x cubed minus 2. Oh, and remember, that's equal to 0. I picked a different green, but that's okay, it's still green. Now we're going to go ahead and set each of these equal to 0. I'm going to do that in pink, or fuchsia. So we have x plus 4 equals 0, and 3x squared minus 2 equals 0. Now all that's left is to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 4 on my left side. So I get x equals negative 4. On my right side, I'm going to add 2. So I get 3x squared equals 2. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So I get an x squared equals 2/3. Ooh, actually, you know what? This should be an x cubed. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. All right. And this should be an x cubed because it was an x cubed up here. There we go. And then we're going to cube root both sides. So we get x is equal to the cubed root of 2/3, and x is equal to negative 4. So those are our two roots for x. All right? That's all you have to do. That's the only difference between factoring and solving by factoring, right? Everything from here up, this is just factoring. But everything down here, this setting equal to 0 part, that was that new part. This is the new stuff. And even though it's new, it's stuff that you've already done before because you have all solved these simple types of problems when you went through and did Algebra 1. So you've already done these types of problems. You don't have to worry about that. It's just one extra step. The hard part is the factoring. Once you got the factoring down, then you're just setting each part equal to 0. Again, make sure you're reading through those notes. Let me know if you have any questions.